guys? Welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to do the highly anticipated part 3 to the extremely popular story, which is titled, Wife Thought I'd Agreed to an Open Marriage. Instead, I took her car, credit cards, and kicked her out. And let me tell you guys, the reception, the response to those videos, holy crap, talk about a hit. You guys were great with the comments, supporting the guy, giving him praise, and of course requesting an update. And so, to no surprise, this guy was working through the night, got his update done, and here we go with part 3. And I will also have part 4 later on today, so you guys can see what's going on. And this update, guys, this is long, like the other one. Part 1 and 2 is actually one story that I split up because it was so damn, like 18 pages long. This one's like 20 pages long, so I'm doing part 3 now, part 4 later today, just like, and I'll leave you on a cliffhanger because, you know, I can't resist. And I'm not going to bother doing a recap because you all know what happened. I'm just going to say this. Married the wife from hell. She was a serial cheater. He was good to her. She wanted an open marriage. He then shocked her by not going along with this, and he handled it like a boss. And like the title said, threw her ass out. Took her car keys, credit cards, canceled the credit cards, and threw her ass out. And now we are going to continue on to see what's been happening since. This all went down, I believe, in December. So now we're going to see how things are going with him, her, the family, the divorce, the whole 9 yards. So, picks up where it left off. He says, hello, SSM. This is the second part of the story of my cheating wife, Cheryl, and my reaction to finding out. With the help of my buddy Sean, I was able to find out what happened between her and her lover, Bob, after I threw her out. I relay that here. I also decided to write a third part of the story covering our years together while she was working and before returning to school. I figured out a way to find out if she at least was faithful during those years. Those years made up the bulk of the time we were together. Part 3 will talk about what I found out about her at her time at work. And by the way, guys, Massachusetts is in full bloom and my allergies are fucking killing me ever since last night. So I know you're dying to hear part 3, so I'm forcing myself to do this. I took a shot of Dayquil about an hour ago. I got a box of Kleenex next to me here, so I may have to break this video up in multiple parts and pause it, but god damn it, I'm getting this video for you guys because I know you're dying to see this. Otherwise, I'd take today off and heal up, but I know you're dying, so bear with me here with my sniffing and coughing and all that shit. Believe me, I prefer not to do it, but I know you guys want to hear part 3. Anyhow, here we go. He says, about me, my attorney. I started looking for attorneys the very next day on the 13th and met with 3 different ones later that week. Very smart. Talked to a bunch of different ones. See who will work with you, and that's 3 less attorneys she can go through. I picked the one I thought would be the most ferocious. She read Cheryl's email to Bob and listened to me recording out our discussion of open marriage and then Cheryl's cheating from December 12th. She didn't talk about the possibility of reconciliation. Maybe I could forgive her mistakes like the other 2. She just told me Cheryl was a snake who needed to pay for what she did to me. Hey, I like that kind of an attorney. When I heard her say that, I started crying. At the time, I was still very emotional. She and I were on the exact same page. I almost told her that I just fallen in love with her, but didn't want to weird her out. I presented her with my financials and told her that I took the money in the joint account, about $6,000, but that Cheryl had been taking money since we got married without my knowledge and putting it into her own account, which I had known nothing about. She had taken a little over $17,000 in 5 years of marriage. Well, in her mind, hey, that's our money. I can do what I want with it. My attorney told me not to worry about the money. She could guarantee that at least we would divide the money in 2, but I might be able to get all of it. I told her I was the registered owner of both cars, and she asked if I needed both, if not, to sell one of them that I didn't want. I ended up selling the car that Cheryl drove, reminded me of her. Hey, it's your car. She told me that we lived in an at-fault state, and that Cheryl's email and my recording of our conversation were enough to prove infidelity. We needed nothing more. Awesome. We would not have to pay her alimony and would give her as little from our former joint account as possible. It depended on the judge, but even with a 50-50 split, Cheryl would owe me more than I owed her because of the amount she had taken over the 5 years. Dude, what state do you live in? We all got to move to that state. We would ask for it all back, but she told me to think about how much I wanted to push getting the money back versus the headache of waiting for the judge to decide. We would see what Cheryl's attorney said when we demanded the money. She told me not to worry. If Cheryl wanted to play hardball, she would tell her attorney that she planned to depose Bob and have him describe every kiss, lick, suck, etc. each and every time they met. She would then threaten to call Bob to stand on the stand and to go over his deposition for the judge. Cheryl didn't hold any winning cards. We had them all. Yeah, you're holding them all, and you got yourself a great attorney. Awesome. The lawyer would begin the paperwork and ask me if I knew where Cheryl was. I told her I think she was living with her parents. I gave her the address. Next up, STD test. I went and had an STD panel. I did get an STD from Cheryl. Thankfully, it was the one that could be cured. I got a prescription from an antibiotic, and I'm free on the STD now. Unbelievable. Imagine getting an STD from your spouse. Good freaking Lord. Use that in the divorce process if she pulls any bullshit. Oh my God. Not that I'm surprised you got an STD from her, but thank God it's curable. But Jesus Christ. She is a piece of garbage. Work. I went back to work after New Year's. I mentioned that I had a great work environment made possible to a great boss. I explained to her my marriage had fallen apart, no details, but I guess she could tell from my voice I needed to take some time off. She told me she was pulling for me. If I needed anything to just ask, and to take as long as I needed. There are decent people in the world. I took about 2 weeks off. Well, that's awesome, and when you definitely show your boss your appreciation for what she did for you when you can down the road. BFFs. My two bros have been with me every step of the way, making sure I get out of the house evenings and weekends, going to the gym, good, and no drinking to excess, good. Encouraged me to write down what I went through to get my head straight. I really wouldn't have gotten anywhere without their support and encouragement. One bro helped me sell the car Shell drove to a coworker of his. It pretty much took care of everything. Most painless car sale of my life. Awesome. Those bros, don't trade it for anything in the world. Cheryl. Oh boy. This is a long one. After she was gone, I really didn't expect to hear much from her, but my phone started to blow up with texts and voicemails late into the night of the 12th. Since her phone was out of commission, I guess she was using Bob's phone. Mostly the texts and messages were just angry rantings. How could I be such a low-life scum as to cancel her phone and credit cards? She needed her car and wanted me to bring it to Bob's door. Too late, asshole, I sold it. The best thing she ever did was to leave me because I was such a piece of crap, and on and on. I listened and actually chuckled at some of her rantings. Good to know that I didn't throw her out, but that she left me, I didn't respond. Of course you're the bad guy, because she's a narcissist and a psycho. Everything's your fault, not hers. The texts and messages stopped that night, but a few days later, they started again from a number I didn't know. It was Cheryl. She got a new number. She told me she was at her parents' house. She said she dumped Bob when she came to her senses the morning after our spat. She was going to come to my house to apologize for her behavior. The only reason she didn't come home was she thought I was still mad and couldn't bear to see me so mad at her. Think you're mad after what you discovered? Yeah, you might be a little pissed off for, 5 lifetimes. She probably went and saw her parents. Her parents were the riot act, and now she's doing anything to get you back. Also, she couldn't take another likely rejection by me. Would I have rejected her again? Pfft, what do you think? She begged me to talk to her, saying that she wanted our marriage back. She always loved me and only me. Always did and always would. This chick is out of her fucking mind. She said she obviously needed help because she tried to throw her life away by seeing a scumbag like Bob. Oh, here we go. Now she's playing the I'm screwed up card. She said she had behaved horribly towards me and would seek therapy immediately to fix herself. We could do marriage counseling together if I wanted. You can do all the marriage counseling you want. I'm not going to be there. She could not live without me. I was the love of her life. She understood why I was threatening to divorce her. I'm not threatening to divorce you. I am divorcing you. Her email to Bob was horrific. She's ashamed and embarrassed just thinking about it. She didn't understand where the SLUT who wrote it came from. Oh my God, is she saying, that wasn't me that wrote that to Bob. That was somebody else. I don't know who that SLUT was. Good Lord. A lot of what she said about her undergraduate S-word activities wasn't true. She just made them up. She was ashamed of those parts that are true. She said that really wasn't her. Well, that was the old me. The new me, I'm born again. She was really the loving wife I married. She proved that to me when we got back together. Yeah, you take her back, and then you wake up one morning, and your limbs are chopped off. The affair with Bob was probably just a psychotic break. Oh, well then we'll forgive you then. Her therapist could help her figure out why she went off the deep end like that. She believed that she had regressed to her undergraduate mentality by being back on campus. Oh, okay, so it's going back to school's fault. Not that you have no self-control, no love for me. You're a psycho. See? Blame, blame, blame. It's not my fault. Oh, no, it was going back on campus and all this other stuff, and it was the bad girl, not me, the bad girl. She was insecure about her intellect and her fitting in graduate school, just like she felt as an undergraduate. She used her body to get close to someone who she thought would help her with schoolwork and making friends and validate her intellect. Validate. She was irresponsible, immature, and stupid as an undergraduate and regressed to that when she got back on campus. Oh, okay, well then all's forgiven, honey. If I was wondering if the sex with Bob was better than me, it's not even close. The sex with me was always wonderful. She can't remember an instant where she wasn't fulfilled and happy when we were intimate. She said Bob wasn't really interested in pleasing her, just himself. Well, that's how Chad and Tyrone won't roll. While I was the most generous lover she'd ever been with. Yeah, there's the thrill of someone new, but even that thrill has been wearing off for her. But that is over now. She can't believe she allowed it to happen. Just insanity. She had no contact with Bob since she dumped him and never would again. Key word in that whole thing, insanity, because yeah, she's insane. And not that it's an excuse for her behavior, but you get the point. She regained her senses and is working on understanding why she behaved so badly. She realized she is very insecure and would need to work on that in therapy. I just need to tell her what I needed her to do to fix things between us. There's no fixing things. Fuck off. She would do anything I asked her to do. This was all her fault. I'd done nothing except to be the wonderful, loving, sexy husband, she had to throw that in, that she'd always hoped she'd find. She couldn't bear to think of the harm she did to me, herself, and our marriage. Well, you know what? You should think about that and dwell on it for the next 25 years. She dropped out of school as I asked. She could get another job when I took her back and be happy to have it if that's what I wanted. She knew I wanted children and she'd be proud to be a stay-at-home mom to take care of them if that's what I wanted. Oh, so she could be at home and not have to work and you can provide. We saw how that worked the first time around. And you gave me an STD. Among some other things, I don't trust you having children and what you would do to them. Good freaking Lord, if they be my kids. If I was concerned about any other affairs other than the stupid fling with Bob, there have been no others after we moved in together. Oh, so like he should believe her now. She'd been completely faithful until Bob. She would never be unfaithful again. If I wanted her to take a polygraph test, she was ready and willing. She had nothing more to hide and would pass with flying colors. When people generally say, I got nothing to hide, they got plenty to hide. Make her take the polygraph test. Make her go through with it. Fuck it. She started taking money from our joint account after we were married because she was very insecure about our marriage. Oh, well, then that's okay then. She thought she didn't deserve a wonderful man like me and said I would realize that sooner or later and leave her. She realized that every stupid thing she did was the way to proving how unworthy she was to herself. And that what happened, a self-fulfilling prophecy. I threw her out when I realized she wasn't worthy of me. When we meet to talk, she would hand me a check for the full amount she'd taken. Yeah, and probably that's from her dad. She needed to discuss her low self-esteem and self-destructive behavior with her therapist also. You know, I was meaning to say in the last video, and I should have said it then. I bet, guys, on some level, after he threw her ass out and acted like the alpha boss that we're all proud of, I bet you her attraction for him went through the roof. Because he was now acting like a type of guy that she would be attracted to. Wasn't taking her bullshit, kicked her ass down. I bet her, actually, honestly, her attraction for him went up. But, bro, I know you're listening to this. Don't let that go to your head. She is fucking evil and garbage, and don't take her back. She said she couldn't live without me, even though I hated her. She hoped deep down I still loved her too. She believed we were meant for each other, and our lives would be gray and lifeless without being able to hold one another and go through life together. Newsflash, our hero here writing the story is going to be just fine. Please, please, please call her back. She would probably cry uncontrollably from the sheer happiness of just hearing my voice again. She would be my slave, do anything and everything I asked without question. Well, you really could have fun with that, but I'm not going to go there. Just please talk to her. We need to plan a way to get back so the two of us can heal and move forward together from this nightmare she put us through. And more of the same. I didn't respond to any of her texts or voicemails. Good, brother. I'm glad you didn't. On December 16th, I received a call from her father's phone. Oh boy, that's wonderful. That might be Cheryl, so I did not answer. But the message was from her father. He said he understood I wasn't returning Cheryl's calls, but he'd like to talk to me. Cheryl's father was a stand-up guy who worked very hard all his life with not much money to show for it. He provided for his family without complaint. Like me, he also thought in terms of getting from here to there, and was blunt and direct. Good. He had always treated me with respect and as a member of his family and deserved a phone call back, so I called him back. No one would blame me if he didn't call him back, but you know what? Since he always treated me with respect, I can see why you responded and get right to the point. He thanked me for calling back and told me Cheryl didn't know he was calling me, but he thought he could help straighten things out. Cheryl came home a few days ago and was in a bad way, very depressed. She was like a zombie, a changed person. She feels her life is ruined. She did that. I didn't say anything, so after a pause, he got to the point. He said he finally got out of Cheryl why I'd asked her to leave and wanted a divorce. She told him I was angry with her because I didn't want her to go back to school and didn't want to pay her tuition. There is no way the father got the full story in any way, shape, or form. He probably got 3% of the real story. Her father said if the tuition was a problem, he was willing to get an additional job to help with that. Bullshit. He should not have to do that. Or Cheryl could go to school part-time while working to get the money for tuition. But if I was dead set against her return to school, she told him she'd be willing to forgo school to save the marriage. This ain't about the school, Daddy-O. This is about all the other shit. He thought it'd be better for her to get a degree, but if that's not what I wanted, no hard feelings, no issues. Just get back together and never talk about graduate school again it would make things right. Clearly he didn't get the whole story here. It ain't about her in graduate school. He couldn't see what all the fuss was about. He knew Cheryl loved me and thought I still loved her. Why couldn't we just work this stupid shit out? Oh my God. Of course he didn't get the whole story. Can you imagine her telling her dad all the shit you guys heard and the other story? I asked him if Cheryl really told him I wanted a divorce because of graduate school tuition. He said yes. He understood that young people, us, had stupid spats that escalated, but this was beyond crazy. I told him that that was not the reason. That I was always supportive of her continuing her education full-time, had no problem paying for her tuition. He asked what then was the reason for a split. I told him to ask Cheryl to be honest with him. I told him to tell her if she wasn't completely honest with him, I would send him the real reason through email. Specifically, I told him, tell Cheryl that I would email. Couldn't I just tell him now? No, it should come from his daughter. If she doesn't, I will. There you go. But there's still no way in hell she's going to tell her dad. And if she does, she's going to be bawling her eyes out the whole time like she was with you. Trying to get him to imagine this little girl that he was pushing on the swing set so he'd feel bad for her. That's what's going to happen. There was one thing, though, I said. Cheryl said she'd take a polygraph test. Please ask her to set it up and text me when it's scheduled for and the contact information of the examiner. I want to send the examiner questions I wanted asked. I'd like to see the answers to those questions. He went quiet. Had I inadvertently given him too much information? Oops, sorry about that. Finally, his voice flat. He said he'd talk to her about it. Other than that, I asked him to please tell her to stop texting and calling. They weren't helpful, and I would not respond. He said he would tell her. We hung up, him promising to call me back. Her messages finally stopped. I'm still not sure why I cared about her taking a polygraph test. I guess I wanted to find out about other possible affairs. I guess I just didn't believe her about no other men but Bob since she moved in with me. I wanted to see if I was right. I was hoping there weren't other affairs, but wanted to know. Maybe I was just seeking self-torture. I think you need to know everything, so that way you can move on. I guess everybody's different, but you need to know, so be it. A few hours later, her father called back. Oh boy. The first thing he did was apologize for his daughter's behavior. He was crying. To hear this decent man crying about the behavior and character of his precious daughter also brought me to tears. We spent the next few minutes just crying into the phone without saying anything. Finally, he got himself together and apologized again. He told me he understood why I wanted a divorce. He would want the same. He hadn't raised her to be that way, and he says in parentheses, he couldn't bring himself to say the word. He and then I started crying again. Well, Daddy realized that Daddy's little princess is some other dude's little whore. I told him that it was not his fault. He said it was. He and his wife were her parents. That obviously did a terrible job with the most important thing they had to do, raise her properly. Welcome to Sodom Gomorrah 2.0, Daddy-O. He told me he'd shown him the email to Bob and was literally sick, throwing up for 10 minutes. He can barely stand to look at her now or talk to her. He and his wife were both devastated. Cheryl can't look at her parents in the eye. Disown the bitch. Problem solved. He said that Cheryl told him some of the things in her email to Bob that they were not true. Of course she said that. She never walked in the hallway wearing only panties. Even if she wanted to do that, which she never did, the dorm RA would never allow that, and she might have been kicked out of the dorm. Oh, because she's been so honest up until now. Also, she exaggerated the number of random guys that she was with, but there were still too many. The story about being with 3 guys together before graduation also wasn't true. 2 friends had come into the room, not uncommon in a dorm, but they just watched her with their friend. Oh, okay, that makes it so much better. I wouldn't believe it. She is a pathological liar. Evil. Her father asked why she would tell those lies to Bob, and she said that she said Bob was losing interest in her. So you're going to say you're more of an WHORE to make him have more interest in you? That makes a whole lot of sense. Most of the time, she seemed to be the one to initiate things with him. At times, he seemed almost indifferent to her. That part I believe. And that probably just drew her towards him more. When guys are indifferent to women and the woman wants him, that makes him chase harder. She thought that telling him that stuff would make him want her more, make him renew interest in her because he would think she was up for anything he wanted to do, she wanted him to want her. That actual part I kind of believe. That actually makes sense. It doesn't excuse her actions, but still. And I think that she wasn't lying about the stuff she did, but was just saying it to him to get him to be more interested in her. Poor guy, I thought to myself. I guess he really believes she didn't do these things. She picked what she thought were her worst behaviors to deny so she could convince her father she wasn't all that bad after all. What was probably the truth was the RA, resident advisor, saw her parading around her panties and told her to put on some clothes. Probably happened more than once. The dorms at our university are co-ed floors, co-ed bathrooms, co-ed showers, but roommates were the same sex. Some of the women seemed to forget there were men around and they weren't shy about their bodies. Shocker. The other thing she denied, how many random guys were not that many, and I don't think the friends of the guy she hooked up with just sat there and watched. Why would they? I didn't say anything. He was her father. Let him believe her denials. He'd been through enough. He doesn't, she said what she said, and that broke his heart enough, but there's no way he got the full story. No way. Her father told me he knows how I feel. Nobody knows how this dude feels. Come on here. Unless his father was with someone just like her. And why I haven't contacted her. Even without the crap she lied to Bob about, what she did admit to was worse than bad enough. He told me that she'd taken some positive steps. She broke up with Bob and wouldn't contact him again. She took responsibility for how bad it had been with him and how terribly she'd hurt me, her dad, and her mom. She returned home, a good thing. She was very broken and would take a long time to heal. She would start therapy as soon as they found someone. That would be his and her mom's main job right now, getting her help. He started crying again, me too. He asked how his beautiful, intelligent girl had become so ugly and stupid. I think she'd been that way for a long time, and it's her own freaking doing. Now, parents have a responsibility to a certain extent, but when a child chooses to do things, they make adult choices, and she obviously has been doing this for her adult life and all that, and I'm sure she was into all sorts of trouble as a teenager in high school. Who knows? But what's done is done. He wanted to know if there was anything he could do for me. I told him it was tough going, but I was holding on. I told him if I needed for anything, I had his phone number. I thanked him. He told me that if I was proceeding with divorce, she would not contest anything. He would make sure of that. He apologized again to me and told me to call if needed, someone to talk to, and we ended the phone call. Well, her dad sounds like a good man, and I'm really glad about that, but good freaking Lord. What a stand-up guy. Unlike me, he couldn't throw his daughter out. Cheryl was the first in her family to go to college. Her parents were beyond proud of her when she graduated. We were together at her graduation. They both beamed with happiness the whole time. Now he was so ashamed of her that he couldn't bear to look at her. I knew the feeling. So guys, that will end part 3. I need to take a break, blow my nose about 15 times, and I will continue on part 4 in a few hours tonight. But anyhow, guys, this is one hell of a story, and we're not even done yet. There's more to be revealed in this whole thing here, but definitely comment below. Let this guy know. Again, you guys were great with the comments in the other 2 videos. This is why I worked hard getting this whole part 3 done, and I guarantee you, after I do part 4 later on, there's probably more updates after that. So definitely comment below, and I'll see you guys in a few hours.